Longbangers phone in. I'm Matty, and we've got a record signing in the door and talk of Lewis Miller potentially going out the door. We've got a game against Bolton Wanderers this Saturday to look forward to with Darren McGregor's testimonial. And I suppose the season approaching us kind of quickly. There were some competitive football for some of the smaller teams in Scotland over the last few days. We've not been involved, thankfully. But it just sort of is a nod to the fact that we're nearly at the point of proper football starting. So how ready are we for it? Joe, you were first to dial in tonight, so I'll kick off for you. Where do you want to start us?
Well, I want to start with the Lewis Miller story. I think, you could say, well, we don't want to sell what has become a really good player for us. But on the other hand, he's only got 1 year left to go in his contract. Hibs have maybe missed the boat by not offering an extension before now. And I think the issue is if we might get an offer we can't refuse with the fact that he's only got 1 year left in his contract deal. Mm-hmm. That's my concern.
I wonder how much of it was Hibs offering a longer contract or Lewis Miller accepting the longer contract or just having to accept what he'd committed to, which was the year deal. But what do you think then, Joe? If it was down to you, would you be looking to move him on if the money was right, or would you rather have him for the season and let him go for nothing?
Common sense commercially dictates if you're going to get $1.5 million or more, you take it. You'd be nuts not to.
Is that where you see his value then? About $1.5 million? $1.5
million to $2 million. I mean, when you see what players are going for in England in the Championship, he definitely hold his head up there, no problem. And last season he came on leaps and bounds, as I think everyone will agree. But I mean, we've got a bit of cover there. We've got Hura, but then if he gets injured, what have we got? Chris Cadden could.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not convinced with the Megwa guy, I have to say. But that's just my personal opinion. But I mean, if we get $1.5 million for him, that covers the cost of the new centre forward. By the way, has he got clearance yet?
I haven't seen anything, but I think it's a formality. I think given the level he was at, and I think his international appearances, I think it's a sort of a given.
Because we're into no time. We've got the friendly with Bolton on Saturday, and that's it. We're right into the competitive games a week of the night.
No time at all. Jeff, you've got your hand up for bringing in. Where do you stand on Lewis Miller?
I'm sort of thinking we don't need to rush to sell him. There's a transfer window doesn't shut till beginning of September. We've got a couple of European games. If he's got in the Championship, doesn't matter if he's cup tied for Europe or that.
Yeah.
But what's important if we get through those European games. So if we get through them, is that recoup the $1 million we might have got for him? I'm not saying he'd be totally responsible for us getting through, but he's part of a really settled back three when he plays and look really good there. So I think the ball's in Hibs' court, and if we do get a silly offer, obviously I think like Joe, we'd probably sell him, but we need to get somebody else in because it only takes one more injury and we're then moving people around, moving Rocky maybe, so I would. I'd be in no rush to sell him unless they came in with a really ridiculous offer. But keep him for the European games. We're absolutely in the driving seat here.
I think that's a really good point, Jeff, and I hadn't actually considered that. But we did the same with John McGinn, didn't we? If you think when we sold him, we held on him until...
Celtic were interested in saying, you better not cup tie him in Europe or that. We went, fuck you. Played him. So, quite right. Yeah, he's our player. I mean, unless he's not going to go to a top 7-8 side in the Premiership that are playing in Europe. So let's use him. And if he's fit, I don't know what this injury situation is after last week. I noticed he wasn't included the other night, was it?
Against Bournemouth on Tuesday.
Bournemouth, I appreciate we didn't see the game. Yeah. So that's it. Yeah, I'm just thinking, just, be cool. Wait for it. It's not. It's a position we have got some cover, but I'd like somebody else brought in if we do sell him and bed them in, as the season goes on.
And Chris, I'll bring you in. Hibs have got a bit of a track record for refusing to sell unless they think the money's right. If I think about early Yuan is probably the prime example where there were offers in, and Hibs have been quite happy to sit with Yuan, in the squad, not necessarily playing, or to let his contract run down because the money hasn't been right. They've got good money for players like Melkerson or Vente. Are Hibs playing this the right way then? Are we right to say we value him at more than $1 million, so stump up?
Yeah, probably yes, actually. I think the conversation would maybe be different if we were later into the window.
Mm-hmm.
If we were looking probably going into August, like into later August, when come January, he's going to sign a pre-contract and he's going for nothing, pretty much. We didn't want to kind of paint ourselves into that corner, but at this moment in time, we're literally mid-July. We've probably got 45 weeks before we really need to consider any offers that are coming our way. I think the only reason we sell him just now is if he's causing an issue in the background.
Aye.
I think if he's causing an issue in the background, which is going to affect the harmony within the squad, then absolutely we look to get the best deal instantly and move him on. But I don't know if he's that type of character. He doesn't seem that type, eh?
From what I gather, he was trying to twist Giannis's arm to come back and sign again. So it doesn't feel like he would be the sort of player to be disruptive. You never know, I suppose. There is, I suppose, like if you're Hibs and you're sort of batting it back to the clubs you're trying to buy him, there is the risk. You're right that we lose him for nothing, but he becomes a much more attractive proposition at a lot of clubs if they can pick him up for nothing. So if a club's really want to buy him, is it worth them spending the money now to secure him?
No, absolutely. I think that it is a thing, but I think it's, as been mentioned before, the ball is totally in our court at this minute in time, and we just need to play our game. And if it means they're playing a bit of a longer game and teams wait, then if they're that desperate from, they're going to wait. Ultimately, by the time the championship starts in England, the end of the window's only a couple of games in a League Cup game. Whereas as been mentioned, we've got far bigger fish to fry at the minute. So we need to look after ourselves first. So get the start of the season up and running, get Europe, see where we are, and then consider the Miller offers towards the end of the window. But again, I don't think even at that point we are probably looking at 1.5 and a sell-on percentage. I think again, it's just something that we've been really good at putting in.
The sell-on's a good point as well. Joe, you can come in there.
Yeah, there's one other important factor. If we hang on, and I quite agree, if we hang on another 4 weeks, by then, for maybe 5 weeks, as I'm not quite sure of the timing, we could be into the group stages of the Europa League. Quite possibly. And that would colour everything a completely different complexion. And it would colour what Miller's thoughts were too. So hanging on for another 4 weeks does make a lot of sense. I agree with what's just been said.
Yeah. Ian, what are your thoughts on it?
To me, Lewis is the best player in his position that we've got. So by miles, he's going to be a terrific player. He's a tremendous prospect just now. If he doesn't get a serious injury, that is. But he is the best player in his position that we have. And, he performs really to a really high standard. He's got absolutely the right attitude. He's combative. He's everything we want in a Hibs player. And to me, we should not be thinking about releasing him. And I think we should be valuing him at something like 4 million as a minimum. But we shouldn't release him. We shouldn't let him go anywhere this year.
What I'll do is I'll jump to get some of the comments off YouTube, and then we can sort of revisit and see what the chat is here. So Ronnie said, "Hi bangers." Me said, "Seeing Nicky with the Bournemouth lads made me think how long we will be able to keep a hold of this baller." It's interesting there's nobody's come in for Nicky Cadden, isn't it? The fact that he was our best player last season. Remind me to come back to this the Bournemouth picture as well, because it'll be interesting to get your thoughts on this sort of group sponsorship thing. Stevie said, "Evening all, new signing looks the nuts. Him and Bowie together with the McGrath behind them is just unreal. Is this the best Hibs 11 in our lifetime or since the famous 5? Sandy said, "Evening bangers, here we go again." And Stevie says, "Can we all say a huge well done to Sandy also for his help battle folk with alcohol addiction? Superb stuff." Yeah, absolutely. Well done, Sandy. That's a very admirable thing that you're doing there. Stevie says, "Sell Miller for nearly 2 million and buy Porto for 500,000. Perfect replacement. We get a better player and 1.5 million to spend on Triantis." Kieran said, "Every player in the back 5 is integral. Lose one and it's trouble. If you wanted to buy a replacement for Miller, you're talking 1 million plus, and it's not a cert he's as good." Sandy reckons it's the best team since the Tornadoes. Andrew said, "Hey dude, squad is looking really strong now, especially time to get Rory Whittaker in as well." And Kieran says, "Stevie, I'm not sure Porteous is a replacement for him. Miller is an overlapping wide centre half. Porteous is not an athlete like Miller." So do we have anybody else in the squad just now, Jeff, that they could step in? So O'Hara would be really, I suppose, the alternative, but who else is there?
Well, so we've got O'Hara. Just say he has to be replaced at either injury or, after 70 minutes. Megwa, I don't think is ready yet for that step up. From the games I've seen, I don't know what he's doing in training. So it'd have to be probably Ekpateta or O'Hara in there. I don't see Chris Cadden as a right centre half.
No.
Forward. That's been tried and failed in the past 1 or 2 games. I seem to recall Livingston is one that springs to mind. Maybe I'm dreaming. Anyway, so yeah, we've got cover. It's just if the cover gets injured, that. And I mean, it's same with every position. So
yeah,
it only takes. Say we sell Miller and we get one of the left-sided centre halves injured and one of the right centre halves, then we're in soapy bubble playing 3-5-2. So yeah, was that the question, Matty? Sorry, I'm
it was close enough. I think, Jeff. I can't remember. It's
I'm
been a long day.
John, sorry, not the other John, but John.
Chris, in terms of departures, like I think it's probably gone off the radar for us, and like we got rid of the players that. I say got rid of, that sounds quite harsh, but the players that we were happy to see leave have left. The squad looks to be pretty much a squad the players that the manager wants to have there now. Is there anybody that we should be sort of anxious about bids coming in for, you think?
At this moment in time, I don't think so. Like, it's like, as you just kind of mentioned, Nicky Cadden there. Like, I think our team is pretty much looked at as a unit as opposed to some individuals within the squad. So we look more like a unit. Hence why boys like Penrice for that Diddy bottom 6 team across the city gets talked up because he was a good player in a shite unit. And whereas we are efficient players in a very good unit. So I just don't think there's going to be that many bids coming in at the moment. So I'm not overly worried about bids coming in for any players other than Miller because it is hard to replace him. Because I think the only player we've got in the squad that could possibly replace it, like play in that position at the minute, is probably Rocky, he's got the pace and the physicality to get up. He doesn't have the footballing ability, Miller, in terms of crossing and things like that, due to him not being a natural sort of fullback / righty or 3. And then that would bring Ekpateta into the middle kind of thing. But I don't think out with that, I'm not overly worried about bids coming in for anybody at the moment. I think our biggest concern is probably, a touch wood it doesn't happen, is an injury to Bowie.
Aye.
I think if that's probably the one position where I reckon we're light is another physical option up the top of the park. I'm not worried about any other offers coming in for any players.
And Ian, Hibs have been quite good at sort of managing the squad situation like that in terms of contracts. We've just extended Rabita. Actually, maybe worth talking about that extension as we're here. But Hibs have been quite astute at extending the players that they wanted to extend with the contracts, haven't they?
Yeah, and I think as we've got to give we've got to give the recruitment and we've got to give Malky credit for this, which surprised me immensely. But yeah, they've done really well. Stevie's point on the chat about being the best 11. I don't think it's the best 11, but I think it's the best squad that we've ever had in my lifetime. I said that a couple of weeks ago. So certainly Jordan from being a nailed sort of shoe-in for the position to now being somebody that's considered a backup to Nicky, I think that shows how strong position we're in. I don't think we need any more players. I think any more players would be a luxury. I don't think we should even consider letting Lewis go. I just think it'd be nuts. We're very well balanced just now. We've done well, and I think we've got a very, very strong squad. And so certainly with Thibaut coming in up front, I just can't see where else where we're weak.
Joe, when you go.
I totally agree. We've got a very strong squad, but we've extended Jordan Avita's contract. Why don't we do the same with Dylan Levitt, who's only got a year to go?
The campaign starts now, Joe, does it?
That's it. You've heard it first from here.
What were your thoughts on Jordan's extension, Joe?
I think it was well deserved. He had a really ropey first third of the season and lost his place in the team and came back in. But when he was in the last couple of months, he was, very consistent, which made him player of the season 2 years ago. So I think that's a well-earned award, and which is why I think Dylan Levitt was part of the reason for the last third of the season being so strong. He was never out of the team in that portion of the season.
Jeff, there's been discussion. I think we sort of worded it as improving the standard of player that can't get in the team.
Yeah.
And Ian referenced it there about albeit almost being seen as backup in that position. It's going to be a good thing that you've got somebody at that standard that we've secured them for another year, but Abita can come in and he won't let anybody down.
Yeah, it's really good, and it shows, as people have said, about the forward planning we're now doing, whereas we're not getting rid of a whole team every season and trying to sign another 11 players. If you've got people like Jordan Abita, who, he kept Nicky Cadden out of the team at the end of the season, so they're equal, different types of players, but they're obviously equally as well thought of by Davey. Just about in every position apart from up front, we've got good cover. So yeah, it's good. I think it's such a change from as long as I can remember. I can't remember that far back. I can remember the 70s, but the 80s and the 90s are a bit of a blur. But yeah, it's just really good. And fingers crossed it works out. We were lucky with injuries in Europe and all the usual caveats that go with that. But Jordan Abita extending his contract is a fantastic bit of business. It shows that Jordan's happy at the club. He's a very good character. He's experienced. He leads by example when he's not giving penalties away in the last minute at Kilmarnock. He seems to have got over that, and it just augurs well for the way things are going behind the scenes.
And Chris, Jeff kind of touched on it there, but Abita does give us something different on the left-hand side. So you've got Nicky Cadden, I think, is more of an attacking threat, but in the games where we're needing to be a bit tighter defensively, Abita's a great option, isn't he?
He is. I think we actually overlook his attacking threat, though, Abita's a lot of the time. We really do overlook it. He was in with a few assists last season, but I think we sort of referenced it earlier in terms of if Iredale gets injured, where's the cover? Whereas obviously the club have mentioned that as well, that Jordan can play in the left of that three, which I'm sure he played that against Rangers.
He did.
In a game, and he was excellent. So again, we've got that other sort of cover if we need it in there, and then if we're in that position, then we can actually have that bit of flexibility, and then some of the younger players can kind of come in and cover, or Josh Campbell can go out and play in that sort of position, because he seems to be a man that can do any job efficiently.
If everybody's seen Josh Campbell's interview on Sky Sports for Darren McGregor's testimony, is excellent. You should go watch it if you haven't seen it already. Ian, so a couple of things. I want to talk to you about Black Knights and how I'll frame this is we have just broken our transfer record to bring in Thibaut Klidje. I think I got his name right there. And that is, there's been some investment. Black Knight's put in about £1 million. The Gordons have put in some money. HSL have put in some money, and Leslie all put in some money to help purchase it. And there was also a really interesting photo that Bournemouth put out to announce their sponsor, who I think was SBK, if I remember. It's two Bournemouth players, and then Nicky Cadden in the new away kit, standing sort of parading the SBK sponsorship as well. So you kind of get a hint there that there's been a benefit in us being part of that group in negotiating sponsorship, which you think would come with it, as being tied to a sort of Premier League club in England. With that, and then breaking the transfer record, are we starting to see the benefits of working with Black Knights now? Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. If you remember, it's just usually when you have two organisations that get together, they're usually looking for cost efficiencies. So they're looking to release players, to release members of staff, and they're looking to combine sort of back office operations. So I think what we're seeing here is the effectiveness of the commercial side of Bournemouth, and I think it's pretty easy once you have an agreement in place to then roll out over other clubs. So yes, I think we're definitely seeing that. I think what we're also seeing is the discipline that I think the Black Knight group have brought to Hibs from having the initial scares. I think what we're seeing is a much more professional organisation at Hibs, and very impressive actually, the difference have already made.
And what does it say about the ambition of not just Black Knight, but the Gordon family for like this latest round of investment, which I believe was done with a view to either qualifying for group stage European football this season, but if not, making sure that we are in that position to qualify again next season?
I think what's happened is that obviously Ian Gordon seems to be growing into quite a good leader, which is impressive. The new chief executive, I've not really seen much from so far, but he's bound to have the. He doesn't start till when does he start? August.
End of the month, I think it is.
End of the month,
this month he starts.
Yeah, this is his gardening leave just now. Yeah, so I think what we're seeing is Ian Gordon has stepped up into a leadership role, and I think he has been influenced by the involvement of Black Knight. And I think it's probably been a kick up the arse to at least the way our club behaves. So I think all that professionalism in all aspects of the backroom, the training, the health, whatever, we were already pretty good, I think. But I still think they've had an influence already. So it's all good news.
Yeah, and Joe, with we secured Rocky's signature. We've brought in Mulligan. We've broke the record fee for Klidje. Nobody can accuse Hibs, I guess, now of lacking ambition or not going for it this season. What do you think?
I agree with all of that. The one thing I will throw my hat into the ring about is, apart from extending McCall Dylan Levitt's contract, I think Hibs would be worse than to buy a really top-class winger. If you think about it, Ellie Ewan's blown, to all intents and purposes. He appears to be not the player he was, and he's winding down the last year of his contract. We've got two good centre forwards now with a new guy in Kieran Bowie, but you're still going to play against packed defences, and the best solution to beat packed defences is the winger that can get the ball to the byline and cut it back. Now, I know to a degree Nicky Cadden's done that as an attacking, left-sided midfield player, but an out-and-out really good winger, I don't know what the others think, but that's my view. That's something that would be worth considering.
Joe, do you think with Klidje coming in, it might give Martin Burrell the opportunity to go back to that sort of role on the right-hand side?
It could well do, yes. There's no question. But let's be honest, Martin Burrell's not getting any younger. He's about 32 now, and family reasons were part of the reasons I think he stayed at Hibs for another year. We've got to be looking a season ahead, as Ian has said on more than one occasion. This time next year, Martin Boyle might just be on his way, be it to Australia or somewhere else. And I really think the investment in a top-class winger would be something worth considering, especially if they get a couple of million for Lewis Miller.
Yeah. Yeah, I love a winger. Like I've spoken about it before. One of my favourite types of players. So like you get no arguments for me. Chris, what were your thoughts when you saw Hibs had smashed the transfer record to bring in Klidje?
Well, I was very shocked. I'd been told by someone that we had offered money over £1 million for a Swiss player. That's what I was told, a Swiss player. So I was assuming it was a Swiss striker, not a Togolese striker. However, I think the thing, and it kind of goes back to the professionalism thing. Like nobody had a clue this was coming.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knew on Sunday morning that Hibs are casually announcing that we broke a record transfer fee, which has stood for what we're talking 25 years now.
Mm.
Since De La Cruz came to the club.
I think De La Cruz was the last one. Although,
yeah,
I think Venti was in the ballpark.
Well, so I think there was about 50 grand between them, because I'm sure it was 750 for De La Cruz and 700 for Venti, if I can remember rightly. But I just think again, you should say like you can never accuse the Gordons in no backing managers. The club, they have spent mega amounts of money. Most of the time, it's been on madcap ideas like development squads and reserve teams, and then just buying up players for around the globe. Whereas I think this now, the last year, as we've said, it's planned. We're actually executing like towards a plan of right. This is where the club wants to go. This is how we're going to do it, and we'll just go out and we'll back you to go and get these players. So I think I was surprised but really pleased, and again it just shows the intent.
Is there like how to word this without coming across as overly negative? But our experience of big signings under the Gordons has not necessarily been hugely successful. Do you know, like you look at Venti came in, he was great for a few games, and then flopped. Melkerson was brought in, Tavares was brought in, Noah Kenna was brought in. We spent a lot of money bringing these players in, and it was like a misstep after misstep after misstep. What is there anything that gives you confidence, Chris, that Klidje will be different?
Yes,
and what is
because
it?
we seem to be sticking to a plan. Because if we're being brutally honest, that if it was a year, maybe 18 months ago, Gray would have been sacked. Let's not kid on. Gray would have been sacked, and they would have moved on to a different plan. And the whole anything that Gray wanted to do would have been scrapped. Would have started again, and we would have went through the same cycle. Whereas the club, and probably it's well known, Mackay was well behind it, backing him to say, right, no, we stick to our plan. We'll get through it. And I think that's where I'm looking, going, no, we're confident in terms of we've researched this properly now. Like we've not went and just went, oh, we're going to sign Mamadou Bojang for the Portuguese second division on loan for Rainbow FC and Gambia. Like sort of thing. Like we're not, it's not just one we've just plucked out a computer, like out a computer. I'm not having a dig at any certain clubs. But do you know what I mean? Like it looks like we've actually went to a plan and we've researched it, and we went, right, we're going to do this. And I think it even goes back to Manny. That's why we've brought Manny in January. We've brought him in to get him used to the club, the surroundings, Scottish football in general, in the city. And I think even the games I watched during pre-season, you could see he had adjusted and was starting to adjust to the pace of playing with his teammates, and he looked like he could play. So I think we are. That's what gives me confidence that we're actually working towards a plan. And whilst we might not see Thibaut hit the ground running initially, I think maybe 5, 6, 7 weeks down, maybe 5, 6 weeks down the line, we actually will see the benefits of that.
Mm-hmm. I think that's pretty spot on. Jeff, what do you think? There was I forget the player's name, but we were in for a player that ended up signing for Djurgården, I think, that is now being touted as a £20-odd million player.
Yeah.
Does that give you some faith in that the recruitment team are spotting the right type of players?
Yeah, absolutely. There was a post we shared in our in one of the chat groups about people comparing Thibaut to Melkerson, one or two others. Melkison hadn't played a first-team game. He wasn't an international. This is a completely different level of signing that we've made, and whether he adapts to Scottish football or not, that's the $64,000 question. But he is a player who scores goals. He's got pace. He's another what I call a typical Davy Gray player, an up-front Davy Gray player. He can play across the front line. This it's always a punt. You never know. Whereas Levitt, sorry, not Levitt. Sorry, Joe, not Levitt. Come on, Dutchman. Oh God, Venti. Thank you. Old age is terrible. Venti was bought by a different manager. Was not suited to Scottish football. I'm sorry. I'm definitely not a Gray player. So this is a different level of signing. It's been researched, and I'm as confident as you can be, because you never know. Something might happen. You know, he might get homesick for whatever. But yeah, I'm more than confident that this will probably work out. My only, and this is like scar tissue. Talk about scar tissue when you play golf. You know, you remember your last drive, you ended up in the heather on the left. I'm remembering Dela Cruz signing and what a start to that season we had. You know, AEK Athens. You know, and then it went to rat shit, absolute rat shit. McLeish left. Yeah, that's my only scare, and I'm sure it won't happen. It's different environment now, but I'm confident that the due process has been done, due diligence on this player. They're not going to spunk over £1 million on somebody who's a bit of a risk.
What is it they say when you're buying shoes? Like past performance is not an indication of future performance. Like so, we'll take that. Matthias Siltanen was the player I was thinking of. Thanks, Ronnie. It's put up on the chat. Ian, on you go. You got your hand up.
I just we're going to find out soon enough, because obviously next week we're playing in Europe. And I was talking to my mate Peter. It's good to see that the Midtjylland game is going to be shown live at Easter Road. That's really good. Talking to my mate Peter. My mate Peter's a supporter of Midtjylland. He goes to all the games, and I'll be meeting up with him next week, and we'll go to the game together. But he was telling me, I mean, so Midtjylland, they won the league 2 years ago. And they expected to win it last season. They were very disappointed they didn't win it with their £30 million of investment. But last year they finished Europe on the same points, the same points as Porto and AZ Alkmaar. So it's quite a reasonable level. Now their transfer window closes at the end of August, and so they've not actually done much this year so far. But their team is just so young. And he said their goalkeeper, Jonas Lossell, is former Huddersfield and Brentford. He's the Danish national keeper. So he's probably the best keeper in the Super League. And their main players, Adam Buska is saying is 18. He's a classic number 9. Francolino is signed from Benfica. He's 21 and he's a natural goal scorer, he was telling me. And then the guy, 20-year-old from Chile, Dario Osorio, he said he's a lightning fast winger. And the other guy quoted is 22, Aral Simsier. And he's again a winger. But they've also got Oliver Sørensen, who's he's 23. He was an under-21 national. Now, Peter thought he would be sold before we meet, but he's not been sold yet. Mads Beck is a defender. He's in the Danish national side, and Kevin Mabubu, he's former Fulham. So these guys were playing are really good. They're a really good team. They're a top team, and so we'll very soon find out how we are. It's a pity we don't get any decent report of the Bournemouth game, how competitive we really were there. I mean, obviously, it sounded like a good score, but that's going to be a real test for us next week. And what's so far? I mean, so far in their games so far, they beat in the friendly. They had a friendly against Silkeborg. They beat them 2-0. They beat Dynamo Kiev 3-1. They beat Slovan Bratislava 4-1. And then their first league game is on this Sunday and against Odense. So that'll be them their first league game, and then us on the Thursday. So it's going to be very tough for us I think, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, if we manage to not lose the tie in Denmark, in other words, if we keep it either very tight or a draw, or we can sneak a win, that would be a tremendous achievement. So, it's strange going into a friendly, Dan McGregor's testimonial, and then the following match is against, is probably one of the most important matches we've played for a long time.
Yeah. It's Joe, on you go.
Oh, just following on from what Ian said, although Saturday's a friendly, we've really got to put our best team out and give them a chance of playing together, because 4 or 5 days later, we're into the start of the real season. So Saturday may be a friendly, but I'm looking for Hibs to put out their best team right from the start. He's got to. It's too late for any more experiments. We've got to start playing the best team now.
Aye. And so based on what you were saying, Joe, how did that affect your optimism for the game?
Well, obviously, with a pedigree, it's a really, really tough game. But if we can go there and get a draw or even a 1-goal loss and then bring them back to Easter Road, who knows? Because if we win that particular tie, there's no reason why we can't go all the way to get to the Europa group stages. I'm still very hopeful that we could do that.
Chris, how are you fancying our chances in the tie?
I was, let's just say, fairly optimistic until I listened to you, and then I'm like,
I was going to edit that bit out, like before I put it out, because we'll have to turn it up to the game.
But no, do you know, like ultimately, like we've seen, like you can. It's only 2 games. It's 2 games, and granted, it's quality opposition, but it's 11 against 11. Like, if we go into it with the organisation and the belief that we've had for the last 9 months or so, then why can't we beat them? We've beaten Celtic, we've beaten Rangers, we've won big games. Like,
yeah.
So we need to take that belief with us and go with a plan, which I'm sure Gray and the coaching team will have. Go with a plan to exploit us. And the one thing is, if they've got pace and we're good at just being compact, and then we've got pace to hit teams on the break, we've got an outlet in Bowie, we've got all the attributes to go there and get something and then bring them back to Easter Road. And if we can get Easter Road absolutely bouncing, like a la Athens, like back in the day, like
Aye.
then we're more than capable of turning them over. It'll be tough. We have to be at it, but we can go there and we can knock them out over 2 legs.
Agreed.
Jeff, what do you think?
Echo what everyone said. I was feeling a bit more confident before Ian piped up. Thanks, Ian. Fuck me.
What I'm hoping is that the equivalent of the Midtjylland podcast, Midget Bangers, they're sitting rattling off all the, like Martin Boyle, an Australian international, Lewis Miller, an Australian international, Jordan Obita as an international. They've just signed a record signing and all this, and somebody's putting the fear of God into them.
So I'm talking to my imaginary Danish friend about Hibs, saying we've got an Australian internationalist, top goal scorer, top this, that, and the other. Kieran Bowie just maybe got his first Scottish cap, up and coming, going to go for a lot of money. We've signed this guy from Lucerne, pace to burn, blah, blah, blah. We've got the up and coming Scottish midfielder in young Mulligan.
Yeah.
Gee whiz. We've got Rocky, one of the best defenders in the league, re-signed. We've nothing to fear. That's the way I look at it. But yeah,
we're rejecting offers for our other defenders.
Yeah, the new Australian top internationalist at the back who also scores goals. The only thing, okay, so they're probably pedigree-wise they're ahead of us. They're European, well, not stalwarts, but they're in every year. They're also probably at least a week ahead of us in preparation because their league starts on Sunday. But apart from that. It's Gray. I'm confident David Gray will have a plan for the away. We might not be as gung-ho. We'll hit them on the break. We'll be compact, and anything can happen at Easter Road, as we know. The AEK Athens game was a classic example. 2-0 down from the first leg, and we should have won it. Luna should have
done. Yeah,
really. That still haunts me. That.
Oh, he missed 2 headers that season. One against Rangers to win 3-2 at Ibrox. He missed a header. Bounced it under the bar, and similar with AEK Athens. But apart from that, he was magnificent.
And when you think about it, when did Hibs last lose a game at Easter Road?
True.
St Mirren,
quite a long time
Exactly.
ago.
It was St Mirren, yeah. One of the worst performances of the season.
But
Well,
how
let's
long
Still
ago
nearly
was
got a
that?
draw.
And we still nearly got a draw, yeah. If Dwight Gale hadn't touched that ball going through, then we probably would have got a draw. And it wasn't Dwight's fault. He just got in the way of it was a good shot.
Right, let me quickly catch up on some of the comments on YouTube. So John Dolphin says, "Got my bangers bucket hat ready for Oasis next month. Really smart. Cheers, guys. If we have a bangers sort of Oasis-esque range on our Redbubble stores, and the bucket hats will look tidy at Murrayfield. So we definitely recommend it.
Choose bangers.
Choose bangers. Yeah. Me said Shocknums has come in for Nicky. Nick Cadden, going back to earlier on. Colin says Joe and Matty look like they could be brothers. Take that, Joe. I think it's made a compliment for me than it is for you. Colin says he's also like he's spending the rest of the evening listening to his Best of Boys Own records as well. I don't know why he's chosen to mention that, but enjoy your Boys Own, Colin. We've got some questions about Bournemouth youth players. So Ben Winterburn was a player that came up. Are we expecting anybody from Bournemouth to come in this summer, Joe?
I'd be surprised if something doesn't happen during this transfer window. I'd be very surprised. I mean, and I'd be amazed if something wasn't discussed when Hibs were down at Bournemouth this week. I'd be really surprised if that didn't come into the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's another month for the transfer window to go. I don't think we'll have anyone in from them. It's unlikely we'll have anyone. I think they've got to be registered by the weekend or something, do they not, for this tie?
I think we can register 2, I think, up to the day before we play
right,
them.
All right, okay. But I'd be surprised if we don't. The unity with the Black Knights group and Hibs, back we're down at Bournemouth and everything, is now much stronger than it was when it went tits up about a year ago.
Yeah.
So I'd be surprised if we don't get somebody from that particular route.
Ian,
hopefully it'll be a left winger.
At the closed door game on Tuesday, and they never announced the teams, and there was a bit of sort of optimism around about the place that we might not have done it because there's maybe a couple of trialists in inverted commas featuring for Hibs being a couple of young lads for Bournemouth, but it turns out that wasn't the case. Were you surprised that we never came back up the road with an extra couple of players with us?
I wouldn't want us to have. I would be surprised if David Mulkey hadn't at least opened the door to it. It's very difficult to see how somebody would fit in. I would much rather see our own young players getting a game than Bournemouth's young players. So if we brought in somebody from Bournemouth, they'd have to be better. Sorry, I just realised I'm actually quoting what was said. They'd actually have to be capable of playing in our first team. So they would have to be capable of coming in for one of our existing players. And I just don't see that. I think we've got enough strength and depth already.
Yeah.
And the only thing I was thinking is the last thing we want is another sort of last minute guy like Kwon, who was a complete distraction last year. And he should never have been brought in the first place. So the last thing we want is to bring in last minute loan players. As I said last week and the week before, if Chiantis was offered to us on loan, I would take him. But I wouldn't want any other loan players. I don't think we need them.
Agreed.
And talking of developing our own players, some other news coming out of the club, Chris, was Freddie Owens and Dean Cleland going to East Kilbride on the cooperation loans. So the cooperation loans, I believe they can play for East Kilbride, but they can still come back and play for us. Good move for the boys.
I think so. I think it's good for Cleland especially to get him to play some football, like man's football, and what will be a hard league for him. I think we need to look at another couple of cooperation loans personally. Obviously we can get, I think it's one out of every league. So we could take one for the Lowland League, one for, we've obviously got League Two, League One, the Championship. Yeah, so we can get a team for each league if we want. So I reckon we really need to be looking at something like that for probably get Murray Johnson out playing as well. I think he has to go out and get a move to a club where he's going to play a year's worth of actual football to see where he is. And then I think, again, we need to look at top-end championship for Molotnikov as a thing. So I think it's a good thing to get to bridge the gap, because there is the gap between under 19 football, 18, 19 football to what we're asking players to play is far too big. And the way the system's working just now, certainly the way we've got, it's not helped us develop any real players. Rangers and Celtic, Hearts have done this Lowland League thing for a while. Nobody can tell me they've brought players like James Wilson, maybe, but nobody can tell me they've brought players through that. It's not helped develop anybody. So we need to look at something different. And I think we need to then just, other than just going back to proper reserve team football, this seems to be the thing where we can loan a couple of players out, get them games, and if we need to bring them back, we can bring them back. So I think that would be ideal for somebody like Murray Johnson, probably Rudy moving forward.
Joe, do you want to come in there?
Yeah, I agree with the concept of loaning out Murray Johnson, but is there not a requirement for us to have 3 goalkeepers for the European games?
But we can recall them back. Like, we can call them back for the games and then just send them back, like week to week sort of thing.
Yeah, but we're in Europe like every week for the next month or 6 weeks or something. So it would be, from a practical point of view, very difficult. I think we need to hang on to him at least for the next month, I suspect.
I think that's
goalkeeper number 3.
I think this is how the development loans work, or the cooperation loans, is you're able to kind of just do that. Like you can pull them back in, and I believe. But I noticed that East Kilbride beat Raith Rovers through the week, and I'm sure Freddie Owens played in that.
He started,
made some good saves going by their highlights. Jeff, is it like Hibs? Obviously, the young team won the league last season.
Mm-hmm.
Are we better sort of forfeiting the league and just getting the young players out to other teams and just try to develop them like that, rather than sort of looking for success at youth level?
Yes, is the short answer. The youth, or the academy and all that should be developing players for the first team that we develop and then sell them for a big fee. It doesn't matter a job whether we win the league or not. You know, it's nice, and it's nice that they're in Europe and they'll get the exposure. The club will get the exposure, but the bottom line is we've got to be producing players that can go and play in the first team. And the league doesn't guarantee that, as we know from previous seasons. I think it's only Molotnikov that's come through from the league-winning side. Correct me if I'm wrong. Can't think of anyone else that's come through.
I looked at the team that played Dortmund, and the only player that's still around, like obviously the McIntyre boys are still around the club, and Megwa, but I'm nowhere really near the first team, if we're being honest. There's nobody else within that have actually made a dent on the first team. Yeah,
I mean, that's Jacob. I'm quite excited about Jacob McIntyre. Oscar he played the most games for Queen of the South last year, so and probably the most games of any left back in that division. So he's at that level. He's done really well. I'm not sure whether he's quite ready for our first team yet. It was nice to see them win the league, and I love the way they noised up the Rangers fans at the last game of the season. Fair play to them. But I'm set for them finishing bottom of that league if they produce 1 or 2 players every season that could then step into the first team squad.
What about the Rory boy?
Rory Whittaker.
Whittaker, yeah.
Yeah, he's I think he was over promoted too early. He's clearly got talent, but was found out in a lot of the games after the initial euphoria wore off of him. You know, he is a young lad coming through, but if you remember the games against Aberdeen, he was found wanting it. They just targeted him. Every team targeted our right back, and it's not his fault. It's just a young boy, and he ran out of puff after 60 minutes, which is
you noticed that at Forfar in the cup. They absolutely went at him, and he was a 16-year-old boy, and then he obviously went on loan. He was at Spartans last year, and didn't really impact anything last year, and had to come back.
I'm not writing Rory off. I'm just thinking he was a bit too early, and he's clearly got talent, and nearly scored against St Johnstone with his third or fourth touch. Unlucky. Mitov saved it. So Rory Whittaker not ready yet. Needs another season or two. Not. Hopefully, he'll develop a bit more pace as well. He was a wee bit short of pace when he did play.
Okay, we've only got a few minutes left, so I think we'll maybe do like a wee temperature check and see how ready you're feeling for the season ahead. So, Joe, how ready do you think the squad are for the challenges that lie in wait for us?
Just about as ready as we can be. I mean, other than getting Triantas back, we've really done really well this summer. You know, we're bringing in the two young lads in midfield. I think we're about as ready as we can do. I just wonder whether there's still space, rather than loaning him out, for Rudy, because I mentioned earlier how getting a good winger in would be a good idea. We might already have that under the team set.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't know.
Okay, but feeling okay about the season?
Well, I feel pretty good about it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Saturday's game because, as I say, they've got to put the best team out on Saturday, even though it's a testimonial game, effectively. The next game, 4 days later, is the big one, so they've got to play their best team on Saturday.
I agreed. Ian, same question. You, how ready are you feeling?
In all my time being a Hibs supporter, there's very few times that we've actually finished the season on a high and then finished at a high. I mean, the number of seasons we finished at a high in all my supporting years, and maybe what, 5 or something? I don't know. And for then us to retain our players that we wanted to retain and to buy new ones in and have such a strength and depth, I'm most positive I've been for, well, probably my whole supporting life. I'm going to Dan McGregor's testimonial because it's my brother Gogsy's laddie's stag do, and so Fraser Mackay is with 20 of us going to hospitality on Saturday. So
brilliant.
I'm looking forward to that. I just wanted to bring up one thing, and that was your comment on extra time about Fraser Fyvie. I just want to, in my view, Fraser Fyvie was a tremendous player, and we really let him down. And I think the thing about Fraser Fyvie, it really emphasised how much of an arsehole Lennon was. The fact that Fraser Fyvie tried to leave until the last minute before he signed, and Lennon just deliberately let him go. And it's immature, it's unprofessional, and Fraser Fyvie deserved a lot better because he was great for us. And I tell you, had he not let the ball go out for a corner in the cup final, we would never have won the cup. So Fraser Fyvie, I've always been a fan.
Aye, even hanging on to his pass just as much as he had to play Stokes in for the shot is
exactly.
Well, aye, a lot of time for Fraser Fyvie. Chris, a question to you about the how did you feel?
You know what? I'm buzzing to be back. I'm ready to go, literally ready to go. The interesting one is mentioned. Obviously, we mentioned Triantis there, and we obviously going to watch Sunderland a lot as well. They've listed him as a centre back.
Aye,
it's the one position where they've not signed this season, and they're looking to sign 2. So I would expect us to see Triantis towards the end of the window. I would
do you
pretty
think
much
Triantis
bank
wants to
on that.
come?
I think he'll come down to options, but not like the talk about other clubs looking at him and wanting him has really, really subsided. I don't know if it's just that mad Aussie Twitter page trying to stoke up some sort of bidding war, but that's sort of like calm down, eh? So I think we're in pole position. I think it's again what we can offer him in terms of the culture, games, like all moving towards if he wants to play for Australia in the World Cup or Greece or whatever he wants to do. I think for him, he'll know the best place for him to do that is at Easter Road. And I think towards the end of the window, we'll see that. And that'll just set, I think that and possibly a physical striker, and I think we're good to go.
Aye. I suppose the thing with him, if he was to get into the Sunderland team, and I'm not convinced they would, but they've obviously paid money for him. They've developed him on a couple of loans at Hibs already. So if it is now or never really for him at Sunderland, but I think he would get lost. I think Sunderland will be poor this season, and I think he would get lost in that team. And he's better shining in a team like Hibs for his World Cup chances. That would be my pitch to him. Jeff, how ready are you feeling for the season?
On a personal level, I haven't managed to get to a game yet. I'm going to have to miss Saturday. There's a spare ticket going if anybody wants one. I've got family duties, I've just been told. So my first game is going to be next week. Looking forward to it. Not next week, sorry, the home leg. I can't be next week because commitments. It's really annoying. So the team, my only fear is I think we've got the best squad, as Ian said, and various other people, covering quality cover in all positions virtually. My only fear is we might just be a bit undercooked for next week, as in not played enough together, the new boys, not totally integrated, especially Thibaut, the new forward.
Yeah.
That's my only fear, but for the season, I'm fairly confident. And if we do get group stages, getting Triantis back will be quite important, or a similar player. We've just got a bit of a hole in the middle there. I just looked at Woodburn, the Bournemouth guy. He played 4 times in the Premier League for them last season, and he's 6'1". Good. If we could get him on loan, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
The rumour was that there was a couple. It was two left-sided player.
A left-sided, a really fast.
The big boy. There was a boy that in the pictures, Gray's shaking hands with, big black boy, and apparently he's the other one that they're looking at.
There's a left back that they've paid money for, or left wing back who's really electrically fast, lightning fast. So we could do with a bit more pace. I have no problem with that. But it's Nicky Cadden or Beta. How do you accommodate another left-sided player? I don't know. But yeah, good problem to have. But Woodman,
you raise the standard of player that kind of get in the team, Jeff. That's what you do.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, it's like as one of your fellow podcaster keeps going on about. You bring him better.
Yeah.
Would that upset the feng shui in the dressing room? I don't know. Because that dressing room is really together. You can tell that it's not just a. I've heard other teams, Hibs teams, say, "Oh, it's really good," really good, and first sign of any sort of stress or defeat, it all goes to pieces. This team's different. So yeah, you got again no dickheads. If they're not dickheads, bring them in.
Aye, I'm buzzing for the season. I can't wait.
That's a good term. Yeah, I'm buzzing.
Aye, I think we will sign as well between now and the first leg against Midtjylland. I think we will sign, and I have a feeling it'll be a good signing as well. One that will have us all.
Yeah.
This is based on no insider knowledge, by the way. Just I have a wee feeling that we will do something that will make people sit up and take, or something else that will make people sit up and take notice.
Yeah, and it's good.
A wee Friday announcement.
Aye.
Yeah, a wee Friday announcement for the Darren McGregor's testimonial. Yeah, I mean it's good that the leaks have stopped from the club. So
definitely.
We're only getting to know virtually just before it's a down store. It's about to be announced. That's a good sign. Things have tightened up after the last regime.
Well, we will wrap up there. Just to reiterate, there is the donate a ticket scheme for Darren McGregor's testimonial as well. So I think you're probably going to have to do that quite soon. So they can organise giving the tickets to the people who are going to get them. So look out for that. I think there's commitment. Obviously, hope Darren has the best day there. I'm not sure if he's taking charge of the team or anything now that he can't play. But I'm sure he'll get a great reception. I'm looking forward to getting back to Easter Road because I missed the Rock Vice Essen game. So this will be the first one. I'll be sporting my Longbangers t-shirt. I know there's been a few sold, so thank you to everybody who's picked up a t-shirt or a bucket hat or a phone case or whatever else. There's a few things being sold, so we really do appreciate it and hope to see some more of them kicking about at the weekend too. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks as always for coming on and giving me your time this evening to talk Hibs. Has been brilliant, and I will